Murphy's Law is once again in full effect for the Indiana Fever as Sophie Cunningham is ruled out for the rest of the season. So, what does this mean? They signed a new guard. Is Caitlin Clark ever coming back?
Fans were ready for some serious excitement this WNBA season, but what they got instead was pure heartbreak. Sophie Cunningham is now officially out for the entire season, all thanks to a brutal hit that way too many people are calling intentional. And just when we thought Caitlin Clark's long-awaited return was about to spark some hope, this news completely flipped the script and turned the whole vibe upside down. So, what do you think? Was this an accident, or was there something more sinister at play?
But the Indiana Fever have announced that Sophie Cunningham will be out for the rest of the season. Just to give a little recap about what happened, basically the Indiana Fever were playing the Connecticut Sun and Bria Hartley. Not shocking that it was Bria Hartley. Bria Hartley is involved in many messes in the WNBA, including recently getting ejected from the Chicago Sky game for getting into it with Ariel Atkins after pushing Becca Allen to the ground. She got into it with Rakia Jackson from the Sparks. She yanked Angel Reese's hair, and I know that there's another one that I'm missing. Anyway, you get the idea. So on August 17th, in the game...
Okay, let's just cut right to it. Sophie Cunningham, one of the absolute fan favorites on the Indiana Fever roster this year, right up there with Caitlin Clark, Chloe Beebe, and Lexi Hull, is done for the season. Why? Because Bria Hartley from the Connecticut Sun basically barreled into Sophie's knee like she was trying out for the NFL, not playing in a professional women's basketball league.
Cunningham's injury. So the Indiana Fever did report tonight that Sophie Cunningham will be out for the remainder of the season with a knee injury. Now, initially, the Indiana Fever didn't even report what the knee injury was. They just said that it would be season ending. However, Alex Filippo, she reported that Sophie Cunningham did tear her MCL and that she would be out for the rest of the season.
The result, a torn MCL. Sophie's season completely lost, and fans are absolutely fuming at the WNBA for letting this nonsense continue without any consequences. And here's the crazy part, nobody's actually shocked. Upset? Yeah, absolutely. Furious? You bet. But shocked? Not at all. Because if you've been watching this season, you already know this league has put in zero effort to protect its biggest stars. Zero. Caitlin Clark has been targeted non-stop since her rookie year, and Sophie Cunningham, who quickly became a fan favorite for her raw energy, toughness, and awesome personality, was also getting her share of hard fouls and cheap shots. So, what did the league do about it? Nothing. Not a single fine, not a suspension, not even a slap on the wrist, just total silence.
Is that it's an ACL, and that would be a very bad thing. Luckily, it was not a torn ACL, it was a torn MCL, which is a ligament on the inside of the knee. It very often happens when a knee is like hyperextended or like hit from the side. And so the Indiana Fever did announce today that Sophie will be out for the rest of the season. But luckily, she will make a full recovery to be back for the beginning of next season. But I don't even know who is going to be on the Indiana Fever next season because the 2026 free agency is coming up and the landscape of the whole WNBA is going to look different.
And here's the part that really has fans boiling. It's not just that Sophie's season is over. It's that this whole thing feels like it could have been completely prevented.
It's so effective down low and she can get a lot of people in foul.
When Bria Hartley came crashing into Sophie's knee, you could tell instantly that something was terribly wrong. Sophie crumpled to the court, the crowd gasped, and the replay? It literally made your stomach turn. But instead of outrage from the WNBA leadership, instead of a clear, strong message saying, this kind of play will not be tolerated, we got nothing. Just crickets, as usual. And that silence, my friends, speaks so much louder than any words. It tells the players, go ahead, play dirty, we literally don't care.
They released a new episode of her podcast where she talked about this injury. So I wanted to just summarize for you guys what she had to say, what the updates are from her. And I'll start with saying like she did confirm that it was an MCL tear. She also did confirm that she will be getting surgery on this MCL tear. And an MCL is also something that you don't always need surgery depending on the severity of the injury.
Now let's put this in perspective.
Now, Sophie Cunningham is 6'1", super athletic, and one of those players that fans instantly connect with. She's got the charisma, the look, the game. She was seriously on her way to becoming one of the WNBA's next breakout stars, right alongside Caitlin Clark. You'd think the league would want to protect that, right? You'd think they'd realize that players like Sophie are rare gems, that fans don't just gravitate to anyone, but nope. The WNBA leadership, with Cathy Engelbert at the helm, seems completely allergic to success. They'd honestly rather turn a blind eye and let their players get hurt than actually build a product fans genuinely want to watch. And that's why the timing of this injury is so brutal. Caitlin Clark was just about ready to come back after missing time, and fans were hyped. Finally, some good news for the Fever. Finally, a chance to get back on track with Caitlin leading the charge in her second year as a pro. But then this happens. Sophie Cunningham goes down, and suddenly, that highly anticipated return feels completely tainted. Instead of the mood being all about pure excitement, it's now clouded with frustration, anger, and deep disappointment.
There are growing concerns that veteran guard Bria Hartley intentionally took out Sophie Cunningham, who's out for the rest of the season with a torn MCL. First off, look at this play. Bria Hartley clips Sophie, sends her down, and then she smiles? That's what set everybody off. If this was just a tough basketball play, fine. But the fact that she smiled after, it seems intentional. But let's be real. This isn't the first time Bria's been in the middle of some drama. She's been in fights before, she has that reputation, and she even liked a post celebrating her being that player. And now there are fans that are calling for her to get kicked out of the league. That's how serious people are taking this. Now I want to hear from you guys. Was this intentional or just a rough basketball play?
Honestly, this isn't just about one player going down, this is about a disturbing pattern. Sophie Cunningham's injury is just the latest in a long line of accidents that somehow keep happening to the most marketable, most beloved players in the league, from Caitlin Clark's constant targeting to Sophie's knee, and countless other moments this season where players were hacked mid-air, shoved, or intentionally fouled with zero consequences. If this happened in the NBA, you'd see massive fines, suspensions, and outrage plastered all over ESPN every morning. But in the WNBA, nothing. Just move along, nothing to see here. And what makes it even worse is the fan response. They're not buying it anymore. They're furious, and they're calling it exactly what it looks like: jealousy, incompetence, and straight-up targeting. Sophie Cunningham isn't just some random player, she's a fan favorite, embodying that all-American vibe that casual fans instantly connect with. Blonde, tall, tough, energetic, the kind of player you can market to a mainstream audience. That's why this hurts so much, because fans know she was on the verge of becoming something much bigger for the league, and now that opportunity is gone. You simply can't convince people this was just bad luck. Not anymore, especially when you have a history of hard fouls and suspicious plays piling up, and when Caitlin Clark has spent 2 seasons being shoved, hacked, and taunted almost every single game. And now Sophie Cunningham, who already had a target on her back for being popular, suddenly goes down in a way that looked anything but accidental. Fans see it, they're not blind, they're connecting the dots, and the picture is anything but pretty. But then, let's talk about the Indiana Fever's reaction to all this, because that's another piece of this maddening puzzle. Instead of truly addressing the loss of Sophie Cunningham with a move that makes sense, the Fever decided to sign Shea Petty, a 36-year-old guard who hasn't exactly been lighting up the scoreboard. No disrespect, but seriously, this is the answer. Sophie Cunningham, a 6'1" versatile forward who was becoming a fan favorite, goes down and you replace her with a 5'7" veteran who averaged 5 points a game. It feels like a cruel joke, and fans see it. They wanted the Fever to make a serious move, one that said, "We're serious about winning, we're serious about supporting Caitlin Clark's return, we're serious about keeping fans engaged." Instead, they got a head-scratcher of a signing that looks more like pure desperation than any actual strategy, only adding to the frustration. This is where the sarcasm practically writes itself. While the Fever pat themselves on the back for bringing in experience, fans are left wondering if the scouting department is just watching YouTube highlights and rolling dice. Remember the short-lived Lambert signing, and now Shea Petty is supposed to save the day. Please, the only thing she's saving is the league office from having to answer real questions about why their stars keep getting hurt. And let's circle back to the WNBA leadership for a second, because this is the real core issue. Cathy Engelbert and company have done absolutely nothing to change this toxic narrative. Nothing. They won't address the dirty play, they won't protect their stars, and they won't punish players for cheap shots. The result: fans are tuning out, stars are going down, and the league's reputation is completely in the gutter. Even Adam Silver, who technically oversees both the NBA and WNBA, is absolutely silent, which tells you everything you need to know about how seriously the league actually takes these issues. Meanwhile, fans are the ones paying the price. They bought tickets expecting to see Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark together on the floor. They tuned in hoping for a breakout year. Instead, they're watching injuries, questionable signings, and a league office that looks more out of touch than ever. And the worst part, this isn't even surprising anymore, it's just the same depressing cycle over and over again. And here's where this story gets even more frustrating. Because if you talk to fans, especially Fever fans, they'll tell you Sophie Cunningham wasn't just another player on the roster. She was a huge part of what made this team fun to watch. Caitlin Clark might be the centerpiece, but Sophie brought that undeniable energy, toughness, and fiery personality that fans absolutely love. She wasn't afraid to mix it up, she wasn't afraid to talk trash, and she wasn't afraid to show raw emotion on the court. In other words, she gave fans something real to connect to. And when you take that away, you don't just lose points or rebounds, you lose the heart of the team, one of the few players who made this disaster of a season actually watchable, and the very connection fans had been built. That's why people are so angry, not just because Sophie's hurt, but because it feels like the league is actively allowing its best stories to be erased before they can even be told. And let's be real, Sophie Cunningham wasn't going to win MVP or lead the league in scoring or rebounding. That's not the point. The point is, she represented something fans could truly rally behind, just like Chloe Beebe's unexpected rise that fans are loving, just like Caitlin Clark has been the undeniable face of this new era, whether the league likes it or not. Sophie was part of that growing wave. And now, thanks to another cheap shot and a league that refuses to enforce any real rules, that wave has been cut tragically short. So what happens next? That's the million-dollar question. The Fever will roll on with Caitlin Clark's return, sure, but instead of being part of a growing, exciting story with Sophie in the mix, it feels like they're limping into the rest of the season with one arm tied behind their back. And fans know it, they feel completely raw. They were promised a show, and what they're getting is an injury list. And let's talk about Bria Hartley for a second, because her name absolutely needs to stay in this conversation. What she did was reckless at best, and undeniably intentional at worst. And you can't tell fans otherwise, the replay speaks for itself. This wasn't just, oh, bad timing, or oops, accidents happen. No, she came crashing in with zero regard for Sophie's safety. And if this league had any backbone, there'd be consequences, there'd be suspensions, there'd be a powerful message sent. But we all know nothing will happen. Nothing ever does. And that's why fans are convinced this was allowed to happen, maybe even quietly encouraged. That's the ugly truth nobody wants to say out loud, but everyone is thinking, is the WNBA so broken that it actually celebrates when its stars get hurt? Because it sure feels that way. Every time Caitlin Clark got knocked down, you could see smirks on opponents' face. Every time Sophie took a hard foul, you got the sense it wasn't exactly an accident. And now that Sophie's season is over, you can't shake the suspicion that somewhere in some locker room or front office, people are secretly happy about it. And if that's the case, this league is in deeper trouble than anyone thought, because jealousy and incompetence aren't just bad for the game, they are pure poison. They destroy the product from the inside out. Fans don't tune in to watch cheap shots and injuries. They tune in to watch talent, personalities, and exciting basketball. And right now, the WNBA is delivering the exact opposite. Meanwhile, look at how fans are reacting online. They're furious. They're saying Sophie was targeted. They're saying the league doesn't care about protecting its stars. They're calling out Kathy Engelbert and Adam Silver by name. And they're not wrong. This is the leadership's mess. They let this environment fester. They allowed jealousy and bitterness to become the culture. And now they're shocked that it keeps blowing up in their faces. Please. And it's not like they didn't have warning signs. Caitlin Clark's treatment in her rookie year was a giant flashing red light. Every hard foul, every shove, every dirty play was a signal that this league has a serious problem. But instead of fixing it, they ignored it. They pretended it wasn't happening. And now Sophie Cunningham is out for the year. This is the direct result of their silence. Let's also not ignore the bigger picture here. Injuries like this don't just hurt the Fever, they hurt the entire league. Sophie Cunningham might not be Caitlin Clark, but she was absolutely part of the package fans were buying. The Fever were one of the few teams this season that actually had momentum, that actually had players fans cared about beyond just one superstar. Take Sophie out of that equation, and you've got one less reason for casual fans to tune in, one less storyline to follow, one less personality to market. And that's where the WNBA just doesn't get it. They keep saying they want to grow the game, they keep bragging about TV ratings and attendance spikes, all thanks to Caitlin Clark. But then they let things like this happen, and all that progress goes right out the window. Fans aren't stupid. They see what's happened. They see a league more interested in pushing agendas and protecting jealous veterans than actually building a product people want to watch. And when that happens, fans walk away. It's already happening. People are openly saying they're done watching. They're calling the league a joke. They're even comparing it to a plane crashing into the ground. And honestly, they're not wrong. Because this season was supposed to be a turning point. It was supposed to be the year the WNBA finally started to matter. Instead, it's been one disaster after another. Caitlin Clark getting targeted, Sophie Cunningham out for the year, suspicious officiating, questionable leadership, and a league office that looks more out of touch than ever. And the saddest part, none of this had to happen. If the WNBA had just stepped up months ago and set the tone, protected its stars, punished dirty play, actually showed some real leadership, we wouldn't be here. Sophie Cunningham would still be on the floor. Caitlin Clark wouldn't have spent her rookie year as a punching bag. Fans wouldn't be this frustrated. But they didn't. They let it slide, and now they're paying the price. So here's the bottom line. Sophie Cunningham is out for the year. And the WNBA is once again exposed as a league that doesn't know how to protect its own future. Fans are angry, and they have every right to be, because they know this isn't just bad luck. This is the product of a culture that values bitterness over growth, jealousy over competition, and silence over accountability. And until that changes, this league will keep stumbling, no matter how many Caitlin Clarks or Sophie Cunninghams come along. Sophie Cunningham is out, Caitlin Clark is returning, and the WNBA is somehow managing to make a bad situation even worse. Do you think the league will actually step up and do something?